Hello everyone. Today we are going to talk about a drama thriller film called Delicious from 2025. Enjoy your viewing. The film begins on the streets of France. A car with a German family makes its way through them. Mother Esther, father John, son Philip, and daughter Alba. After getting out of the traffic jam, the car drives through the expanses of Provence to a private villa owned by Esther's father. Here the family plans to spend their vacation. While the women relax on the sun loungers, the men organize a swimming competition in the pool. In the evening, ignoring calls from work, Esther makes a reservation at the restaurant of a local hotel. There is a group of young employees who are having fun in every way known to man. That evening, the young people serve the guests in the restaurant. One of the tables is occupied by Germans. Alba entertains them with card tricks. Later, in the restroom, Esther is distracted by a work call and does not pay attention to the maid who brought a towel. But she remembers the visitor well, who looked at her as if she were nothing. While Esther and John are enjoying cocktails, the maid changes her clothes and runs out to the guy on the motorcycle waiting for her at the entrance. They race down the road until they stop in a deserted place where the guy makes a cut on the girl's shoulder. Meanwhile, the Germans are returning home by night. Suddenly, their car crashes into something. Stopping, they notice a girl with a cut arm on the side of the road. Thinking that they had hit her, the family realizes that they cannot take the victim to the hospital. The police will be interested, and they are drunk. So Esther bandages the girl's wound, and John invites her to the villa to treat it at home. The guest realizes that she has been hit, and makes the hosts argue about the alcohol they have been drinking. At the same time, she notices a mess on the table, leftovers that the tourists were too lazy to clean up. Esther puts the girl to bed in the guest house, leaving her money as compensation. At this time, John carefully washes the traces of blood from the car's interior, and at the same time checks the body to see if there are any dents from the impact. Later, he asks his wife not to report the incident to her father, the owner of the villa and the car. In the morning, Theodora swims in the pool, neglecting her hygiene. Later, the gardener finds a bloody bandage in the water. While playing tennis, John hears the bell ring but does not answer it. Esther goes to the guest house, but the overnight guest is gone, as is the money she left behind. The couple discusses this in the kitchen. The wife is glad that the girl has left, and the husband worries that they may not have given her enough money. However, in the afternoon, while John is preparing lunch, Theodora returns to the gate. The couple finds out that the girl was fired from her job because of her wound, as an open cut is unhygienic for her work. Esther just wants to give her more money, but Theodora is outraged because she is not a blackmailer. The hosts are forced to agree to her terms in order not to complicate the situation. Theodora settles in the guest house. She is accompanied by Philip and Alba. The boy quickly finds a common language with her, while his sister is wary of the guest. To melt the ice of mistrust, Theodora shows Alba a trick with a lighter. She lights and extinguishes it with a single finger movement. It turns out that tourists vacationing in France consider French useless compared to English. Getting ready for bed, John remarks that he shouldn't have taken a stranger into the house, but Esther retorts that she wants to relax on vacation without being distracted by cleaning. At night, the man hears a noise and goes downstairs to the first floor, where he sees a bloody animal on the floor. Theodora comes in next and says that rodents can be a problem if they are not poisoned. She gives the owner a poker to put the animal out of its misery. Reluctantly, John kills the animal outside under the maid's supervision. In the morning, while cleaning the house, Theodora sees through the window a father and son returning from a bike ride. Esther interrupts the cleaning by pulling the vacuum cleaner cord out of the socket. She explains that the noise of the vacuum cleaner annoys her, so it should only be turned on when she is not present. While cleaning the children's room, the maid leaves cigarettes and a lighter on the table. This attracts the attention of Alba, who is fond of magic tricks. To improve their relationship, Theodora teaches her French words. When asked about her health, the maid allows Alba to touch the wound on her shoulder. Going to town for shopping with the owner and his son, Theodora passes by her co-workers. One of the girls has a scar on her face. They pretend not to know each other. When John goes into the cafe for a drink, Philip and Theodora talk at a table outside. Later, the boy helps the girl take off her washed clothes and then tells her about the bike. At home, Theodora eats pieces of raw meat and then teaches Alba how to cut it herself. Soon after, John's colleague Aki arrives with his wife Cora and son. Over dinner, they discuss the economic situation in European countries and the class inequality between rich and poor workers, using themselves and Theodora as examples. Aki offers to help John with a scientific article to be published in a journal. Before going to bed, Esther asks what exactly Aki meant by help with an already published article, but her husband evades the question. The next day, the family goes on a boat trip. Philip films what is happening on his smartphone, not forgetting to include Theodora, who is sitting on the bow of the boat. Later, on the beach, while the whole family is splashing around in the sea, Esther and the maid stay on the shore. It turns out that the hostess is afraid of the depths, so she doesn't like to swim. However, she is always ready to be distracted by a phone call from work, walking along the shoreline and not noticing Theodora's friends who are vacationing nearby. Later, seizing the moment, the maid takes the phone out of Esther's bag. Alba sees this, but says nothing, even when her mother notices it's missing. Theodora offers to buy a cheap phone in the city, but the woman is not interested in cheap things. The two of them go to the store, first by boat and then by car. After finishing the nervous phone conversation, Esther joins the maid for a quiet smoke and a heart-to-heart. In the evening, she takes sleeping pills, denying her husband intimacy. Philip watches the footage, focusing especially on the adult maid. In the morning, Theodora uses the knowledge she has gained from the boy about bicycles to keep up a conversation with John. Touched by her interest, the man, unhappy with his forced abstinence, invites her to take a bike ride through the picturesque neighborhood. Taking advantage of her knowledge of the area, Theodora leads him to the fruit trees, where they enjoy eating the fruit. In the afternoon, Esther notices Philip taking pictures with Theodora. Later, Alba tells her that the maid stole her phone, but her mother doesn't believe her because her new friend doesn't act like a thief. During the next dressing, Theodora, in the absence of witnesses, makes sure to extend her stay in the house. Esther invites the girl to dinner and even gives her one of her dresses for the occasion. To gain her trust, the maid secretly confesses that Alba hides her mother's phone in the closet so that she can work less and spend more time with her daughter. Afterwards, Theodora takes her hostess to a nightclub. There she introduces Esther to her friends and Amber, another rich tourist. Lucien, a friend of Theodora's, offers Esther an alcoholic cocktail to relax and go dancing. Mesmerized by the rhythm of the music, the woman joins the young people, and then the whole group runs to the beach to swim. Lucien helps Esther overcome her fear of the deep and accompanies her into the water. While the woman swims calmly, Amber, left alone, is abruptly pulled underwater by someone. Later, Lucien and Esther go for a walk, and when they return, the group is already munching on fresh barbecue. The only one missing is Amber, who seems to have just walked away. Only her left clothes and purse are slowly being carried away by the wind. Back at home, the hostess gets a good night's sleep while Theodora goes to a cafe with John. John expresses his dissatisfaction. His wife is obsessed with work and has completely cooled down towards the family. Meanwhile, Esther finds the phone in her daughter's closet and wants to have a disciplinary talk, but Alba beats her to it, accusing the maid of going through her closet to steal her mother's underwear. Esther still doesn't believe her daughter. She goes to her husband to find out why Aki called and came. John confesses that his colleagues have decided that he falsified research for an article, and now he is facing dismissal. Because of the quarrel, Esther sleeps in another room. Theodora visits her there, bringing her lemonade and a note from Lucien. Inspired by the resort romance, Esther rushes to her young lover in the morning, gets on a motorcycle, and they, along with his friends, set off through the picturesque landscapes. John has breakfast with his family and invites the maid to join him. They do not notice how Theodora has begun to take up too much space in their lives. Philip secretly looks at photos of them together, and Alba, lying in the grass, learns to do a magic trick with a lighter he has been given. During breakfast, Theodora asks if a friend can visit her. John agrees. Another guy arrives with the friend, and then Cora, Aki's wife, who was sent by Esther. She had sent a message asking them to look after the children because she was going away for a few days. When the disgruntled children leave, Cora notices that Theodora has turned from a servant to almost a family member. However, she herself has a weakness for John, because they are actually lovers, but her husband asks her not to show her feelings in public, so as not to arouse suspicion. Meanwhile, Esther is having fun on the beach with a young lover, losing her clothes and her shame. In the evening, Theodora enters Alba's bedroom to say goodnight and pat her head. Missing her mother's affection, the girl asks her not to stop. A little later, Philip, unable to control himself, sneaks through an open window into the guest house. He sees Theodora lying there and tries to take a picture of the girl. She notices this and throws him out. Esther wakes up in the middle of the night in her lover's bed, carefully ignoring the wounds on his body. She goes to the kitchen to drink some water, but when she opens the refrigerator, she notices the packaged meat. Lucien, who comes in next, explains that this is meat for when there is no food. In the morning, Theodora invites John to a party, but he declines. Alba, having finally mastered the lighter trick, hurries to show it to her father. John is busy practicing, remembers that matches are not a toy for children, and takes the lighter away, upsetting his daughter. Esther goes with Lucien to a party at his friend's house. There, she learns from one of the local rich that all the attendees, including her lover, are waiters, cooks, maids, and other hotel and restaurant workers. She has seen their faces many times, but never memorized them. Suddenly, she feels like she is being watched. Sensing something is wrong, she calls her husband to pick her up, but Lucien interrupts the conversation. Esther goes to the bathroom to collect her thoughts, but suddenly blood splashes out of the drain hole. In a panic, she runs out into the hallway and enters the next room, where she sees a girl gnawing on the leg of her recent interlocutor. Trying to escape, Esther runs to the exit, but Theodora is already waiting for her. The maid admits that they have never been friends, because for rich tourists, local servants are a faceless mass. But there are many proletarians and few rich people, so no fences can save them from class enmity, which manifests itself in the literal sense of the strong devouring the weak. Theodora approaches and bites her neck along with the others. John wakes up at night in bed with Cora. He is awakened by the noise from the pool, where Theodora is having a party with her friends. He goes downstairs to ask them to keep it down. When he returns to the house, he sees that Cora has woken up and wants to leave, because being around loud young people interferes with her healthy sleep. John hears a noise on the roof. Suspecting that the animals are up there again, he heads for the hatch to the attic. Moving the ladder, he notices Theodora behind him with a crowd of friends and a poker in his hand. One swing and blood sprays the walls. At dawn, Philip returns home from his bike ride, passing the open gate and Cora's abandoned car. He finds Theodora's friends sleeping in the open air, and even his sister Alba, who is being gently hugged by the maid. The girl is holding a lighter that her father took away from her during the day. After calling his sister and making sure she is sound asleep, the young man leaves without noticing that Theodora has woken up. A few minutes later, the whole company rushes out of the villa on motorcycles, taking Alba with them. The girl, sitting behind, hugs Theodora. Philip, finding some cooked meat in the kitchen, cuts off a piece and heats it in the microwave. He starts eating, chewing his food carefully. Suddenly, a foreign object gets caught on his tooth, which turns out to be his father's wedding ring. If you have watched the video so far, you should know that I am happy to have viewers like you. Thank you for watching to the end. Subscribe to the channel and follow the news. Klonsak Recapped was with you. See you soon.